when Gus and I were first talking about this episode, you mentioned something about the 5 C's of culture and something around competency and culture. What does that mean to you?
Yeah. So yeah, you need the competency and the capacity. Yeah, we were just kind of spitballing, just kind of talking about, yeah, there's culture, there's climate, there's the capacity, and then with the capacity is you need the competence. And the competence really is, as far as I'm concerned, that's the education piece. That's the skills, that's the experience. And yeah, like on this job, it's we're working on a specialty turbine. And you can't just expect people that have never worked on a turbine before to come in and have the knowledge and the experience that we need to be successful. So we're making sure that we have those competencies built into our team.
So if I
And
hear you correctly, capacity was around having the space to have a good culture. So in this case, for safety, is creating that space to stop the work or to get people's involvement in questions. And then in order for people to be able to deliver on the culture that you're trying to build, there's certain competencies that they need to have, certain level of experience. And if they don't have it, you're making a point of teaching and onboarding them, I guess, to that role or that position. In this case, that turbine.
I think the capacity is more of the ability to resource the team.
Okay.
Um, are there any gaps? Are there any missing pieces of the puzzle that we need? And and I love this conversation, especially with the crews, is I flat out asked them and I challenge them to not be afraid to speak up. If there's anything that you need to do this job better, you have a voice. You have a voice and your voice matters. And I look at mining, oil and gas. We're some of the most well-resourced companies in the world. So if there's a better way to do something, I would love to have a conversation with somebody trying to explain why we can't or why we're not. So that's the capacity. And I think a lot of people just have excuses as to why they're not supporting their teams with the right resources and capacity that they need. Because it's definitely possible. Yeah, you might lose a day, but you're going to gain days back by doing it right. Yeah, it's an investment. You look at things like, well, yeah, maybe they could go and do that work at heights with a ladder, and it's cheaper than having to build a scaffold. But when you do build a scaffold, well, now they're set up to do that job, and they're not going up and down a ladder constantly all day long. So it's little things. So you can, if there is a better way to do the job, why aren't we doing it? And now the competence side of thing, I think, is more on the knowledge base, the training, the skills. Do they really understand the procedures? Are they trained and proficient in the skills and the tools that they need to use to do that work safely?
Would you say that the blend of the team is also part of the confidence as well? As because you have individual competence to participate in the activity, but if you need a blend of people and then you identify, hey, to do this job properly, we actually need an industrial mechanic to be part of this team for us to be successful.
Yeah.
Right? They look at the entire scope of the work and take a look at the team and where are the gaps, not only on the resources side from equipment, materials, and facilitations, but do we have the right team members put together, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, it's when you're building that org chart, you really got to think, what am I missing? And you know what? If you need to subcontract the right specialty and bring them in, even if it's temporary, why not? And we're doing that constantly. We got to bring in, I got I got vendors, field service engineers that are here from Italy because they know the tolerances and the specs of the turbine better than anyone. And we needed that knowledge at our fingertips, readily available, so that we're not going through, 1,000-page OEM just to understand all the intricacies. We needed to support our team to make sure that they had that knowledge readily available.
Yeah, and to mitigate the risk ahead of time, as far as like catching the like you said, catching the gaps on the fly. You're closing the gaps before you even get there, right? So very
Yeah, and then that all goes back to that connection. By being connected with the teams, by having those conversations, those collaborative, workshops and discussions, break down the silos, because that's how somebody like me can really understand what the team needs. And if I'm not having those conversations, or if we're not having the conversations, how do you know? And it's everybody wants to do the best they can. And sometimes, maybe it's pride, maybe it's they don't want to admit that they don't know something or that they're not comfortable with something. But you got to make it safe for them to speak up and say, hey, maybe we should get a specialist here. Maybe we should take the time to understand this better, because if not, we're taking a chance. We're taking a risk. But if I'm not aware of that chance or risk because people are afraid to talk, then I got a problem.